Welcome to the Cozy Historian. If you find yourself drifting off before the story ends, that's perfectly fine. Just remember to like and subscribe before you fall asleep. It keeps these quiet journeys through time softly continuing, and before you nod off completely. Tell me in the comments, what time is it where you are? And what's the last thing you do before bed? Tonight, we're traveling back to a time before the hum of electricity, when nights were deep and the Wild West settled under skies so dark they seemed endless. This is Bedtime in the Wild West, the story of how people prepared for sleep when the frontier still whispered with danger, dreams, and dust. So, close your eyes, listen to the wind in the prairie grass, and imagine the stars, millions of them, lighting the world before the bulb was ever born. In the late 1800s, when towns were few and miles stretched forever, bedtime was both an ending and a warning. The sun was the clock. When it sank, so did the day. Homes were small, one-room cabins made of logs, sod, or even canvas stretched over wooden frames. Families shared the same air, the same fire, and often the same bed. Children slept in trundle beds or on straw-filled mattresses, while parents pulled worn quilts close against the cold. The smell of smoke, leather, and dry grass hung in the air. The nightly routine began with the fire. Someone banked the embers, covering them with ash to keep a soft glow until morning. Water was brought in, doors and shutters were barred, and the family dog was called inside. Every sound beyond the walls, a coyote's cry, a creaking branch, could send a ripple of alertness through the room. For settlers, sleep was never just rest. It was surrender. Candles flickered low in tin holders. Some homes used kerosene lamps, their glass chimneys smoked from long nights of reading or sewing. When the light was finally blown out, the darkness was total, thick, alive, and filled with sounds. Imagine lying there, listening to the horses shifting in the barn, the slow groan of timber expanding with the cool night air, wind slipping through the cracks in the walls, and somewhere in the distance, a train whistle, faint and far away. For many, bedtime was when stories began. Mothers told tales of home, of green valleys back east. Fathers spoke of outlaws, mountain men, and gold. And children listened, eyes heavy, the stories weaving into dreams. But there were fears, too. Rattlesnakes coiled beneath floors, strangers who might wander by, the memory of raids or the dread of sickness traveling through the town. Even the smallest noise could make hearts beat faster. So they prayed, In cabins and covered wagons alike, families knelt by their beds, whispering thanks for safety and warmth. Simple words repeated nightly. Keep us through the night and bring us to morning light. Not everyone slept on feather beds or clean sheets. Cowboys out on the range made their beds under the stars. A saddle became a pillow, and a blanket, rolled tight, was a precious thing. They'd listen to the crackle of a campfire and the rustle of cattle shifting in their sleep. Sometimes a harmonica played, soft, slow tunes drifting across the plains. That sound, mingled with crickets and coyotes, was the lullaby of the open West. Travelers in stagecoaches slept sitting up, rocking along rough roads. Miners in mountain camps rested on burlap and hopes. And in the growing towns, like Dodge City or Deadwood, saloons glowed late into the night. But even there, when the piano went silent and the lamps dimmed, the same quiet truth settled in. Everyone, no matter how rough or refined, must rest. Dreams were vivid. Without electric light, people's sleep followed the natural rhythm of darkness. They often woke in the middle of the night, a first sleep and second sleep, as it was called. Between them they'd stir the fire, use the outhouse, or sit quietly in thought. It was a time for prayer, for writing by lamplight, or simply for listening. To owls, to wind, to one's own breathing. By dawn the cold air crept in, roosters called, and the soft grey light began to spill through cracks in the boards. The first one awake would stir the ashes, coaxing the flame back to life. Coffee brewed. Life resumed. And another day began on the untamed frontier. So if you're lying there, safe and warm, listening to this story, imagine the quiet courage it took to fall asleep in a world so wide and uncertain. Where comfort was handmade, light was borrowed from fire, and dreams were as wild as the land itself. Maybe that's why we still crave a bit of that old peace, a slower rhythm, a darker night, and a sky full of stars. Good night, from the cozy historian. Sleep well, and I'll see you in the next story.